Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to STRI Facebook Live. Change of office scenery, thanks to my neighbour knocking his chimney down. So I've moved upstairs this week to try and build a bit of peace and quiet, but apologise for any noise that might come through. We'll try not to let it put us off. Week 10 of this, we're going to keep on pushing through the sort of lockdown period for sure. And the discussion this week is bringing golf back to play. And for this production today, I'm going to welcome two people. Firstly, Andrew Minty, PGA Director of Golf at Langland Bay in the Mumbles down in South Wales. 16 years PGA professional and board member of Wales Golf as well, with a trophy collection to go with it as well. So we've both Rob and I have got trophy envy this week. So the trophyless Rob Hay, from course manager at Northamptonshire County Golf Club, been at Northamptonshire County now for 5 years, following experience on Parkland Private Members Club and Championship links as well. So a good pedigree of golf, and really the purpose of these two gentlemen joining us, and thank you ever so much, guys, is to just have a chat around this. What are the practical issues which we've been experiencing and how we're going to sort of move forward. So without further ado, also welcome to everybody joining us this week. I'm sure we'll see some regulars pop up, which would be good to see. Keep the questions coming along. We'll try and get to them as they pop up. And well, let's crack on. So bringing back to play. So Andrew, let me start with you. So week 2, is it in South Wales, well, in Wales, for golf?
Week 2 in Wales, yes. 1 balls only, 10-minute intervals, but just happy to be back, to be honest.
So let me get this right. So this is single. So that's 1 ball only compared to in England. We're Rob, you're two balls at the moment.
We are well, yeah, 2 balls from different families, but obviously you can have a 4 ball if it's from the same family.
Oh right, okay, right. So
there's no limit to this in the same family.
Okay, so right, so singles play only then, unless you're from the same household, then Andrew.
Yes, maximum 2 if you are in the same household then.
Okay, so I should imagine that's quite tough in getting people onto the golf course. Not many golfers per hour, I suppose.
Extremely tough. I mean, I understand the regulations and how safe it's got to be, but trying to get all my members out there and first get back to the golf. So trying to adhere to the rules and allow as many out there as can be a bit of an issue over the last couple of weeks. But hopefully now we'll see a bit more sort of leniency with that, and as long as all the golf clubs in Wales keep it as safe as they have, we'll hopefully go to 2 balls of different households, which will make it a lot more members to be happy then.
Okay, so I mean, what have been the challenge from a club manager, director of golf point of view now? I mean, what have the challenges been throughout? I mean, let's dial back now to sort of March, and we started to see a bit of sort of lockdown, social distancing rules come in. From that, then to go into full lockdown. I mean, talk us through the process. I mean, we've seen, I'm used to dealing with course managers like Rob and some committee people from a pure sort of golf management point of view. What have the challenges been?
As far as the administration and the club side of things are concerned, obviously the cash flow and trying to defer as many payments as we can, applying for grants and loans and various things to help us out during this period, not know how long it's going to last for. As far as the golf course is concerned, the club in its entirety, a large number of staff, just having myself, heads and deputy greenkeepers in, who proved a bit of an issue after the third week, the security of the golf club, and hearing a lot of reports that there was a fair bit of vandalism going on and people that weren't adhering to the lockdown. So the security of the golf club came into effect, and we were there. All of us were there most days, just patrolling the course and trying to keep it as safe as we could. But from the monetary side of things, as I say, not knowing how long this is going to go on for, trying to defer any loan payments, any leases, and just looking after the cash flow as best we could, really.
Okay, all right. I've got a couple of regulars coming here. Eric, good to see you online as always. Eric, hope you're well. Alan Lindsay joining us today. Alan's got a question already, actually. So, what's the status with clubhouses in England and Wales? Are they open? I'm guessing that they're, like all restaurants, they're closed. And although is there some changes is possibly coming with professional shops, although or have they been able to access as well?
With ourselves in Wales, there's nothing been said about that yet. I think in England, I think it was the 15th of June, non-essential shop. So a lot of the golf shops that I know of are operating sort of a click and collect, but the golf shop is predominantly closed. So we don't really know of any. Our golf shop will then reopen possibly when the clubhouse reopens, and when that is, we don't know.
I mean, it's almost getting back to sort of golf of say yesteryear, even before that. It's like for anybody who's been fortunate ever to go up to St Andrews, and you see people changing the street and the in the road, and you go up to the first tee, and you probably bought all the your memorabilia and your trophies, like your open flags behind you there, and you probably bought all that stuff in advance. But it is normally, you've been sort of questioned about changing on a car park before, but now it's sort of it's getting back. The golf course is what it's there for, isn't it? What everybody's looking to enjoy.
It is, and not only that, in Wales, I mean, myself, I've had a health and safety inspection, and the police have been down with us pretty much every day, just doing a few laps of the car park and checking.
Really?
Yeah, what my perception of the local area is, which is the term they use to see how far the golfer could travel. So they're pretty hot down in Wales at the moment. But yeah, so trying to adhere to that as well is quite tough. Okay.
So look, I mean, it's been, all clubs are been adjusting to this, and as with all sort of walks of industry, the people have been furloughed. I'm not yet seeing probably the higher percentages. Not teams aren't fully back to staffing without sort of delving too much into your individual situations there. But Rob, let me come to you. I mean, are you back to a full team now?
Yeah, we came back to a full team last Thursday. So we furloughed half the staff, but we did it 4 weeks at a time, just to sort of split it around a little bit, so not everybody was off for the full time. But yeah, the guys came both back on Thursday last week, and we've just been sort of running the team from there. It's surprisingly tricky. You get used to working a particular system, and then you suddenly one man, one buggy. You can't work too close to each other, and jobs just seem to take longer. Through no fault of your own, just because it's how the new normal's going at the moment. Okay.
And Andrew, I mean, I think the conversation I had with you earlier that we're all in this together, and you've sort of donned a bit of greenkeeping as well, and supported the chaps. Is that correct?
It is. So I would do some of the admin in the morning, and then just go out and try and just help as much as I could then to try and get through the work, really. Jump on the rough mower, a bit of strimming, hedge cutting, just anything I could do, and just leaving the intricate stuff to the experts then. So the two boys are working tirelessly, in fairness, and I was just trying to support as best I could just to get through it, really.
Yeah. So what sort of a glimpse of the world of greenkeeping? I mean, what's your sort of first impressions of that compared to, you sit on the sort of managerial side of the club dealing with the members?
I definitely got a newfound appreciation for greenkeeping, I have to say, because on the 3 days of rain that I had in Wales, I was absolutely soaked. I couldn't have wet or jumped in the lake, to be honest. So, and also the fact that I was mowing without people there, and that was the main thing I saw. So when I was cutting the rough for the boys, it was head down and just mowing. But to have golfers about stopping and starting and sort of the safety aspects of that, I didn't really appreciate it from a manager's point of view, and just how colossal the amount of work was until you're actually on there doing it with them. And I only had a little snippet of that, to be honest, just helping out. So no, it's definitely changed some of the things I'll be doing with the green staff going forward, at least. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So a few more people joining us. Nico, say hi to everyone. Good to you join us, Nico. Carl Williams. Hi, Carl. Hope you're well. You're having an extension built. Now I've got the 10mm spanner on the mower downstairs. So never did work very well. Give it a bang. If so, Alan has got a question here. Let me see if we can get this up on screen. So, if clubhouses, maybe a good idea. If clubhouses closed, maybe a good idea. What they're implementing in Belgium, and pay by collecting card only. So, it'd be interesting how these sort of things do come back online. Question from Eric. How responsive have companies been to parent holidays with payment holidays, I think, with equipment leases and equipment parts, fertilizer and chemical suppliers? What question for both of you here? I mean, Andrew, from how have you sort of found the response?
Initially, I thought it would be quite a problem because we have, as most clubs have got quite a few leases and new machinery, and we've got that replenishment program going. I have to say that all the companies we've dealt with golf-wise have been absolutely fantastic and given us the payment holidays we've asked for. So I can't fault them, to be honest. They've been great.
Okay. And Rob, availability of parts and products and stuff?
There's been no issue. A lot of our companies will, obviously there's a lot of them are ag companies, which they've stayed open anyway. But most of our part suppliers have stayed open, which has been great. And the level of service hasn't dropped. It's always still been within a couple of days. If the couriers can get out there, then we get it. And most of our accounts have just extended their terms. They've gone from 30-day to 60-day accounts just to ease the pressure on everybody, really. So no complaints. Everyone's rallied round. It's been really good. Okay,
so I mean, I think there is a lot of optimism. I've seen that, and the interesting, I've continued to see and hear feedback of new members wanting to play or inquire about new golfers or inquire about membership. Have you seen this, Andrew? Are you hearing that through Wales Golf as well?
I am. I'm hearing it through Wales Golf, and we have had a number of member applications myself. Predominantly from sort of nomadic golfers who have been thinking about joining a golf club for a number of years, and a few of the names have been cropping up, and I've had them on the radar for a while, but now, because there's no real date set of when visitor golf can come back to golf clubs in Wales, they're looking to join clubs, which is fantastic, and that is the trend I'm hearing across Wales at the moment, really, which is great.
Yeah, and have you seen much of that, Rob?
Yeah, we've got our membership was nearly full before we went into lockdown, and we've got people wanted to join. I think they're doing membership interviews. They discussed doing it over Zoom just to keep people coming in, and just trying to get people in now. I think they're doing more membership interviews this week. So it's definitely following what happened when you mentioned in Denmark, that people are wanting to get back into golf again, really.
Okay, well, I mean, look, that's fantastic. I think with a lack of sort of foreign holidays, maybe, and people sort of engaging with the great outdoors and seeing what clubs are on their doorstep, and maybe they realise the value in memberships and the value of the sort of social well-being value of playing golf as well. So long may that continue. I think there's a golden opportunity for the industry here if it's embraced correctly. But equally with that, we mustn't forget there's going to be many that are going to face a serious challenge with this. I suppose on that theme, look, it's a fantastic sunny day. I'm sure it is across the country today. It brings its problems with watering. Rob, I'm sure you're not a stranger to a hose pipe in the last couple of weeks, and the irrigation systems are working flat out. But it's only a few short months ago that we were thinking, is the winter ever going to end? Will it ever stop raining? And here we are. It's one of those sort of be careful what we wish for. If only we didn't have golfers to contend with on a golf course. Wouldn't maintenance be easy? And here we are, and we're talking about the problems of it. But let's think about the wet conditions. And I know, look, southwest Wales and southwest is you get the brunt of it coming up there, the jet stream. Rob, you're probably one of the drier parts of the country, but there's still significant amounts of rain last year. And the knock-on effect that this has had, the loading on the golf course that this has had, and we've gone into dry conditions. So a lot of problems are sort of it's gone firm. It's naturally gone firm. So maybe we at the time when we may have been alleviating some of the problems of that, then COVID hit, lockdown came down. We were, whatever essential maintenance we could do, but maybe we haven't fully addressed the problems. Now, how are we going to address that? How are we going, in a year when there's going to be pressure, Andrew, is there going to be pressure on golf courses to do? I understand what you want to do here. The maintenance, and we've got to prepare for next winter, but what surfaces? You're disrupting the surfaces. How are we going to get around that?
From my point of view, our maintenance is always second week of September, which historically the weather's been pretty good. So what we decided was we're going to bump maintenance into October, and try and, if visitors are allowed, or if they're not, just let the members have another couple of days or a week of good weather. October not being the best, but I've discussed it with the team, and I think that's what a lot of golf clubs are going to do. But I feel we have to do it really, just to get that extra revenue in and try and push it back.
Okay, I mean, Rob, how did you see this? I mean, are you comfortable that you're sort of up to maintenance? Have you done what you felt that you needed to, or there's been things that are off, sort of just being moved off the table at the moment because of the situation?
It's been an interesting one. As you know, I'm in a slightly different position, having worked sort of on our OM quite so hard for the last 5 years. So
yeah,
I don't have the same necessity, I think, to sort of top dress and holocaust quite as much as I would have done. So in that respect, it's actually quite helpful. I can back off a little bit, and if I need to sort of look at sand dressing or holocaust or solid tanning, I'm happy to sort of back that into sort of, if you have a half decent winter, I'll do it November, December, January time. If it's if you get the sort of a mildish winter, then we can work it that way. But for me, it's the present moment, while we're just on sort of members social golf, we're going to try and get some seed in the ground. The club have been good to sort of release finances enough to get some seed there, so we'll see if we can make some inroads while we're playing social golf.
Yeah, look, I mean, I've spoken about this before. I firmly believe, those who are looking at botanical speed, improvements of the grasses. This is an opportunity, because we normally seed gets battered by play. It's battered by the demands of your sort of competition preparation, presentation, and suddenly, hey, this year we've got an opportunity here that we are preparing social golf courses. So you still have a good standard. And play where is naturally lower, because we're down to 2 ball starts, 1 ball starts at the moment. So with every cloud, maybe there's a silver lining. I'm excited about that. I don't know if, Rob, I know it's something that you're very passionate about, and restoring the sort of the improving the heathland characteristics of the course.
Yeah, exactly. And it's we've been overseeding quite religiously for the last three or 4 years while working on the OM, and having got that sort of top 20 mil down, and we've sort of seen cracking germination results from the bents that we've been putting in. So with us not feeling the need to sort of top dress and hammer it quite so hard, I think we can definitely like the disturbance theory and really sort of try and make some inroads. There's the bents have come through this really well. Okay, a couple of weeks ago we didn't think we had any with all the seed heads, but now that they're dying back, we've got a good percentage there, and it's just been able to increase on it really.
Yeah, if we can get our moisture balance right and the temperatures we've got at the moment, and as I say, when the pressure rolling is off, because I think rolling can be really bruising on juvenile plants. And and again, if you're sort of fairly up to where you want to be with your dressing, again, dressing and brushing can be quite abrasive on those operations. So we've got opportunity here. We've got a message from Carl here. Interesting that Carl, you say you're returning after 8 weeks on furlough, as your wife is an NHS worker. Again, thanks, I'm sure, as a country, thanks every Thursday. Thanks to people like that for keeping their country going and dealing at the real sharp end of the stuff. And we're just talking about grass, not to belittle it too much. But you say it's a breath of fresh air to return to work. That's great. running with a smaller team and new challenges from a management point of view, but great to see members' expectations being managed by the club. So that's interesting. So Andrew, how are you sort of managing to communicate this with your members?
Social media was big during the lockdown for me, and it was a bit of a balance, really, managing the members' expectations that they're not going to come back and find that they're going to have Augusta there because they've got 2 1/4 greenkeepers looking after the golf course. But at the same time, you've got, well, I had to try and tell my members that there is a golf course there. We're maintaining it the best we can, putting some videos and different things on there, and then showing them that the condition of the course is very good and we'll get it back to full standard ASAP. So we obviously don't want them to move on as members and to stay where they are. So it was difficult to manage expectations, but I think after such a long lockdown, I think as Rob said earlier on, it was just great to be open and just filter some members through, regardless if it's in one balls for us or whatever. And it's just a bit of light at the end of the tunnel, really, to just get things back going. So the expectations over the lockdown was a bit of a balancing act, but now it's open and the weather's really good for us. It's very good.
Okay. Eric has got a good question here. So financially, has the situation made financial directors and general managers and memberships consider keeping money reserves held back and stopping projects such as planned bunker, tee renovations, etc.? So I think, look, everybody's managing, sort of trying to keep a close eye on cash flow and see what unfolds from all of this. You know, how you sort of seeing things, Andrew? I suppose at the same time we've got to improve. To the stronger clubs are going to be stronger coming out of this.
I think so, and we've had a number of board meetings over the web, and we've said the same thing, that you know, the cash reserves that we've got and other clubs have got are extremely important, but we can't lose sight of the planning that we need to put forward now when things get back up and running. And for the members, we have to keep evolving, keep improving the golf course. But I think definitely on a far tighter budget, and that 5-year plan we had will probably be stretched over more 7 or 8 years. And as long as we can make improvements, but I don't think they're going to be as rapid as what we first hoped this time last year.
Okay. Right, so let's just go back to this sort of, you know, this renovation and drainage issues, because as I say, it's sort of drainage can be forgotten about when dry weather comes. And I know Andrew, I know Langland have installed a bit of drainage this year, but you know, Rob, wanted to discuss with you, because you've done some interesting on-site study work looking at the effects of different types of aeration and whether sort of ultimately whether drainage improvement might be needed in a few localized situations. I mean, I suppose just tell us a little bit more about your sort of course and soils a bit.
Well, we're on sort of Northampton ironstone, so it's sand, but it's quite a fine sand, so it drains well. But when you get the sort of the consecutive days, then it starts to sort of bog up a little bit. And yeah, like every club, you know, last winter we were in the same position. We consecutive days, day after the other, we were starting to sort of see puddles where we hadn't seen them for a while, and you know, just praying for that 24 hours just to help it drain away. Really, it's just, yeah. We're fortunate the fact it does drain away, but it does need that day's period for it to allow it to soak in.
Yeah, I mean that was the key. I mean last winter, I mean there just wasn't many dry days at all, was there? There was no sort of respite from it. So look, there's a need for aeration. You know, I think we all agree from that. Andrew, you agree from a management point of view, but you know, you've got memberships to consider as well. Rob, you know, from a course manager's point of view, the understanding the agronomics and the associated issues that come from that. And you've you've made some good achievements with a reduction of organic matter over sort of 5 years in your tenureship there. Rob, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. I walked through the door with can't be far, about 16% OM in the top 20 mil, and yeah, they're down to after the latest results down to about 4%. So yeah, the club have been fully committed on the programme to make sure we got there.
So what are you seeing from that then? I mean, we're talking numbers here, organic matter reduction. I mean, what are you actually seeing out in the field, the benefits from that?
It's an interesting one, and I don't know if all golfers see it, and this is where it becomes almost difficult to sell, and it's worth sort of the information to the membership becomes important. So initially, no control of the ball on the greens. You couldn't throw a ball in and get it to stop. There's no responsiveness. Footprinting easily. Poor, power everywhere. Green speed was inconsistent at best. Dry patch was obviously a problem. It's the usual things you expect to get from power. From organic matter. Now, since then, we've got firmer greens, the more consistent moisture-wise. We've got a better take-up of the finer grasses that we're looking to promote, and winter play is phenomenal now. We're perceived to perform better in the winter than we are in the summer, even though doing the performance testing, they're consistent right throughout the year. Because you've got other courses around, we're perceived to be better because actually we don't change from summer to winter play, which is fantastic. Really, it's what you aim for.
Okay, so I mean, that's interesting. This consistency, this playability through the winter is actually going to be a really important part of this sort of COVID recovery, because we let's say that courses are getting back to sort of more normality. The last thing we're going to want in the winter, I'm sure Andrew, is the courses are now closed again because of poor weather. I can see many a course saying, look, heck, we're playing anyway. Doesn't matter. They can be underwater. We're playing. The pressures will be on.
From my point of view, the pressure will definitely be on from the members if that's the case. But I think from my point of view, I definitely want to stay as firm as I can with that. And there are obviously detrimental effects of the course if we do let them all go out. And the adage with some of the golfers with us that the course will close itself. We've got some real die-hard members who will go out in anything. So I think there will be a leniency with it. But I feel that we'd have to stick as firm as we can with our policies, really, and just protect the course going forward. But it is going to be a balancing act, that one.
Okay, so go on, Rob.
I was going to say it was interesting for us because obviously courses around us were closing. There's only a very small sandbelt through Northampton, and so most people around us are on clay. And where they were closing and losing revenue that way, we actually had a really good winter because we were taking a lot of visitors in. But I suddenly saw 4 or 5 times the amount of golf in a wet winter, so it was difficult managing that as well. It was almost too good in a way. You suddenly find all your wear areas are just wearing out even quicker.
Yeah. So right. So you've done a lot of work. You've reduced organic matter. We're getting firmer, drier surfaces for longer in the year, but still, when that pressure on, when it rains without drainage, it's going to create a little bit of a problem. And I remember somebody sort of telling me in terms of, look, you're either going to aerate your way out of it or you're not. If you're not, then you're going to have to drain. If the water can't go down that way, it's got to go out that way. That's when we consider drainage. But the trial work and I know you're a good man with numbers, and obviously the discussion we had last week with Frank and the sort of the science behind the numbers, and he was sort of saying, look, you're never going to convince me that data is a bad idea, and I think this story we're going to tell here, it sort of backs up this sort of lookup between deep solid tine aeration versus compressed air aeration on greens and the effects of both. And I know, Andrew, the compressed air aeration, it's a strategy you use as well. So this is dead interesting the way this goes. So look, just tell us a little bit, Rob, about how this sort of process, what you've been doing, the background, what you've learned about the greens before we get into the application of both operations. Okay,
so the greens are 110 years old now. They're just built by Harry Colt, so there's the soil push-ups. So we're just relying on the indigenous soil to get the water away. And we have some of them bowl-shaped, and we collect water at times, and other times it's great. Also, you get that day and it's away. Historically, we've always sort of tried to time monthly using a solid tine, going deeper sort of a couple of times a year during the summer, and then just sort of slightly more religiously in the winter. But yeah, there's a trade-off with that because there's disturbance with the golf, and competition golf in the winter has become a lot more prevalent. Our membership do love the comps, and again, I'd say with the OM quite high, you've got a lot of disruption with that. But it's, it has changed as the OM's dropped. It's not quite as impactive, I don't think. But yeah, you always want to minimise disruption throughout all the year, essentially.
Okay. So we're measuring organic matter has dropped, and that's improving infiltration. And you've measured infiltration using infiltrometer rings. That's correct, isn't it?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, and that's measuring the sort of the water millimeters per hour water entrance into the profile. But you've also looked at the drainage rate, the hydraulic conductivity through the profile. So start to have a look at how water's moving at 0 to 80 millimeters, 80 to 160 millimeters. And what did you see from both of those results?
Well, essentially they do tie in, but the intact ring produced slightly better results for us in that respect. Our top 80 mil is okay, but it's not fantastic. And once we got into the lower profiles, it just dropped off. It dropped like a stone. So I think on the intact rings we're looking at 5 mil an hour, which if you consider some of the rainfall that we've had, it's it can't cope with that.
That's 5 millimeters an hour water movement at 80 to 160 millimeters. Correct. So as it's hitting those sort of older soils and everything becomes a little bit more interpacked.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, it just sort of, okay. Yeah, it's just got to fight its way through that profile.
Okay, so that then led to this sort of do you deep solid tie and aerate, or do you use a compressed air aeration unit? So, I mean, what are the Andrew? I'll come to you on this. I mean, I know you use both. I mean, from a player perspective, I've never yet not seen a golfer watching it, a compressed air unit go past and thought, oh, that's fine, carry on. But boy, stick a deep solid tiner on a tractor and somebody's knocking on your door.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so but each has got their benefits, I suppose. So I mean, and one is significantly less disruptive, or so we think. But Rob, tell us otherwise.
Okay, well, obviously there's a lot of talk about the compressed air aeration, and we've got to give it a try. And you don't go blindly into these decisions. If it's good, then you need to have the data behind you to go to a committee and make the case for it. So we ran a trial. So we did our full 18 greens with the compressed air unit, and we'll go in every 4 weeks from the end of October right through to February. And then alongside that, I did the deep solid tie aeration on our putting lawn, just as a comparison, because without sort of comparing against the two, then you just don't know what you're up against. And essentially, it's when we're in the drier conditions, when we're sort of October, November time, there was nothing between the two of them. Essentially, the compressed air, you're getting a huge improvement in infiltration, no loss of firmness, no disturbance to the clay, and that was lasting for a couple of weeks. Same as it was with the solid tie aeration. But once we got into that sort of more consistent wetter period, you weren't seeing the huge benefits from the compressed air. You're blowing the air in, but it was almost like the soils were just falling back into place again straight away, and our infiltration rates dropped. So
you're measuring the benefit. You're still using the infiltration rings. So you're seeing an increase in infiltration from, let's say, 1-2 millimeter an hour infiltrate surface entering the turf.
Sure.
And that's sort of tripling up to sort of 5-6 millimeters an hour. It doesn't sound a lot, but it is a big difference.
It's a huge difference, yeah.
Okay, and you're seeing that drop off after a sort of 2 week period.
Yeah, exactly. When the conditions were drier, that was lasting us. We were getting a good 2 or 3 weeks from the compressed air before that started to drop off, for sure.
Okay, yeah, okay. I think that sort of ties with what I've seen. I think it's a really effective way of allowing you to do more aeration. Certainly in the winter time without disrupting the surfaces, and But what did you see from the deep solid tine aeration? So you were saying still similar levels of improvement, but what was the longevity of the deep? And what are you using? What 13mm diameter tines?
13 mil, 8 inches deep.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. So and you're seeing a similar result, but for longer.
Yeah, that was right. The improvement in the infiltration basically lasted until those holes closed up. So for us during that period of time, because the greens were quite firm, we were seeing easily 6-7 weeks from one pass. Whereas with the compressed air, we were looking at sort of 2 to 3 weeks. But that essentially is a trade-off. Obviously, you've got to deal with the fact that you've run a machine over the top of your green and hammered loads of holes into it. At the time I trialed it when it was quite warm, quite dry. Sorry, it didn't have a huge effect on tuner smoothness and firmness. But that said, as the weather got worse, we didn't go back out with the deep solid tine because the weather wasn't fit for it.
Yeah. It's you can create sort of more problems in a way. It's sort of I feel like I need to do something, but it's just the wrong time. The surface firmness and the greens go soft and they just don't firm up again. And I guess, Andrew, it's if you're taking already vulnerably soft greens to then you're manipulating them to become soft, then it's a problem for the again you're going to hear about.
Definitely. I mean, as far as the members are concerned, when we use the air machine over them, I mean, they don't even know it's there. We educated the members beforehand and said we were getting it and what the benefits were. And that trade-off that Rob was talking about there is obviously very important. But I think from the club admin and the golf operations side of things, I think it's a trade-off that we'll happily take, to be honest.
Yeah. So to go, so you also looked at firmness levels, Rob, didn't you, with the two operations? And what did you sort of see? And I see Alex has posted a question which I'll come to in a moment, Alex. But what did you see from the two operations on firmness?
The firmness in the initial period, there was no change between the two. Running a sort of a deep tine aerator over a firm green for us didn't make any difference to firmness whatsoever. A small reduction, but not significant enough to cause problems. With the compressed air machine, there's no change to firmness whatsoever. It didn't change any element of that.
No negative change. Yeah.
There's no negative. In fact, there's no noticeable change essentially in the initial period. As you moved into the wetter period, let's be honest, it was a wet winter, because essentially we'd created physical air spaces within that ground. The ground was able to move sideways laterally into those to close those holes up, so it did create a slight softening. But again, with the air machine, you're not having that same effect. So we saw natural softening because the surfaces were wet, but not through actually doing the operation itself.
Okay. And in terms of ball roll quality, I mean, Andrew, again with your sort of Open Championship stuff behind you there, you've got a keen eye on ball roll quality for as much of the year as we can get it. But you again from what you're having to deal with golf as a business, but that's ball roll quality has got to be as good as we can get it. I guess.
Sorry, Paul, who was that to?
So I lost myself. Actually, I think ball roll quality is important, isn't it?
Very much so. Yeah.
We discussed this last week. We need firm greens for that. But you looked at ball roll quality, didn't you, Rob?
I did, and it's it goes without question. If a compressed air machine that's only putting a hole in once every 2 or 3 feet is not going to cause any surface disruption that's going to affect a golfer's enjoyment of the game. Equally, if you're tining the green, you're putting a solid tine in there, then there is an element of disruption. A lot of that depends on your firmness of the green and sort of how you remedy that afterwards. I've spoken with my chair of greens recently, and we've sort of come to the decision that the trade-off between using the air machine and higher charges for us, especially this year with the finances as it is, the membership will be more tolerant of running through the machines that we've got and accepting the disturbance, as opposed to sort of investing heavily in something that we don't really, they don't feel as the huge benefit that we expected essentially.
I suppose what the moral of the story here is that there's no generic advice for which operation is best at that particular time. You've got to understand the soils, and as part of the process that you went through is understanding what is the drainage potential, and are we going to sort of achieve anything with any meaningful aeration, or are we literally not even a sticking plaster and we've got to drain our way out of it? But
exactly, and we have some greens that are like that, but the important, the nice thing that has come out of this is obviously I said when the weather got really wet, we didn't run the deep tine aerator over the greens, but we had a whole winter of putting the compressed air machine through. So regardless of the weather and regardless of what it was doing, we were still throwing air down there and having some form of effect. It may not be long lasting, but it was still doing something in a year when we potentially couldn't have done anything at all.
Okay, so I've got a question from Alex here. So to you, Rob, do you rely solely on cultural practices for the thatch removal reduction, or do you incorporate thatch digesting products, thatch eaters? If so, have you noticed any notable reduction in thatch layer with such a part?
Hi Alex, how you doing? I'm pure old school, I'm afraid. So it's if you take it out, then you can put the good stuff back in. And at the time, that was an easier sell to my membership. To go down the road of the magical products, or however you describe them, they until you get sort of consistent known results from it, to go and say I'm going to holocore green and take 8% out and I'm going to put sand back in there, then that's, for me at the time, that's a much easier sell. And like I say, the club have been fully backing what we've done, and supportive, and the membership have come along with it now. It's been 5 years, and it's been an interesting learning curve for me and for them. But I think they started to appreciate that when we've been sand dressing and doing the work, it's starting to pay dividends.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, look. I mean, yeah, we're right in the sort of the dry spell now, and with organic matter, you get problems at either end, either extreme. But look, if you take from your experience regionally, I mean, what are you thinking for the year ahead? Is this going to turn into another 2018?
Oh, do you know what? I honestly don't know. Mark Hunt's just up the road. We can ask him. He's the weather guru, isn't he? Honestly don't know. I check the Jetstream forecast every week, and I keep seeing it doing something and going, oh, possibly. But you know what? It changes, and weather patterns change all the time. And when I was in South Wales, you used to see it. You used to see the clouds coming in over the down the Severn, get caught in the channel, and disappear off to Bristol. It was it just does that. It's you can't really predict it.
Yeah, and Andrew, I mean, so I know the rain can sometimes hop over where you are there, but you sort of hit the sort of Neath Port Talbot area, and it sort of just funnels in there, and it creates its own problems with sort of pest microclimates and things like that. But what are you hoping for this year?
I've been south for crying out for a bit of rain at the moment, but with the Welsh weather, we really don't know. I mean, to have this spell of great weather now, especially as it was so good over the lockdown, and we thought that as soon as golf was given the go-ahead, it would hammer down again in Wales, as it normally does. But a prolonged period like this and a bit of rain here and there would be great. But yeah, from my point of view, just getting the members out there and keeping the golf course as good as we can. So a bit of a mixture, but typical Welsh weather at the moment. I wouldn't really want that. No.
Yeah, I know. We've been discussing, drainage and aeration, but the watering side. I know Langland invested in irrigation system in just ahead of 2018, and it's already sort of seeing courses now where it's the irrigation systems are held together with elastoplast and things like that. And clubs, it was always a difficult discussion anyway, but some clubs are now thinking, how on earth are we ever going to afford to invest in an irrigation system? But it isn't going to last forever. So when we need water. When we need to get rid of water, we need to do that. yeah, I guess this is where many a venue are going to sort of look to how they can come out of this the other end and reinvest and secure the memberships and the future of the club that way.
Definitely. As we said earlier on, I think a lot of golf clubs' perspectives now are going to change after this, and I think with the budgets and the restrictions they're going to have, those that were looking to invest in things like irrigation systems, they could be put back a fair bit. But as I've spoken to you numerous times, Paul, it's an essential bit of kit, and for us, it was put in at just the right time after all the planning we had, and it's just paid dividends over the last few years, and it's obviously paying for itself now as well.
And is it from a business perspective? I mean, is it going to be manageable for courses to, maybe not invest in the same shape or form that they used to, but these, dealing with the aging equipment, dealing with irrigation, is it going to be viable, or are we really looking at making do?
Speaking to a number of golf clubs around the time that we had our irrigation system in, and seeing a number of golf clubs all over Wales who had, as you say, an aging system, and they were looking to invest. The consensus from what I could remember is they were looking to invest in the following couple of years, and to try and save up some of their money, get a nice cash reserve there, and then go to the bank and try and borrow a bit. So I think after this now, all of those aims to invest such a large amount of money, I think they are going to be putting a bandage over it and making do, unfortunately, for the time being, just to survive.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough for people. Look, I mean that's so we're sort of 3/4 an hour now. So I think unless anybody's got any more questions that they want to sort of fire into us, but it's been useful discussion today. Really useful to get experience points of view from director of golf and club manager Andrew. So thanks you for your input on that, and Rob, it's always a pleasure, and to discuss that bit of work that you're doing with the different forms of aeration. Hopefully just sort of stimulates a bit of discussion sort of within greenkeeping crews and within clubs over how we're going to go about things, and hopefully strike the balance with bringing golf back to play and moving into next winter as well. So some good points, well made. So I think we're going to sort of call that our wrap for this episode, and look forward to joining everybody again next week for week 11, and hopefully further progressing into getting a bit more golf than single balls, Andrew, back out on the course.
Please, that would be great.
All right, chaps. Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for joining us. Stay safe and stay well.
Thank you very much.